There's a quote I like that says, "Night is purer than day." It's better for thinking, for loving, for dreaming. At night, everything is more intense, more true. The echo of words that have been spoken during the day takes on a new and deeper meaning. And from that, I will segue into talking about the benefits of being alone and things you should take into consideration when you contemplate the possibility of welcoming other people in your life. The truth is, when you start to incorporate other people in your life, you start to lose autonomy. You start to have to get things cleared through other people before you do them. Maybe you start to have to ask for permission from others to think for yourself. And that's a scary thing to really accept. The idea that you have to agree with maybe your partner or other people in your life, and if you don't, they will try to make life harder for you, or maybe they will retaliate in some way or punish you. It's not a good thing to find yourself in a position where you're not free to have your own opinion. When we're alone, when we're separate from others, we can make our own determinations of what we like or what we don't like, what we believe to be right, what we believe to be okay, and what we see as a problem. But the closer you get to other people, the more they start to feel like they have a controlling stake, not just in your time and actions, but in your mind. And that's probably the worst kind of control, when people think that they have a right to tell you not just what to do, but also what to believe. It's really nice to be able to make a determination of what you're going to do with your time, with your money, with all of the different faculties of your life. And I know for myself, being alone, there's a lot of times when I think to myself that I would like to do something, and then I struggle to find time to do it, even though I really have plenty of time. It's just easy to get distracted along the way. But when you add other people with their priorities, their expectations, their problems, especially if you don't share the same ethos, the same values, the same interests, it can go from hard to be true to yourself, hard to find time for your hobbies and your personal passions and your interests. It can go from hard to impossible, because all of your time is going to be spent doing what maybe your partner wants you to do. All of your time will be spent appeasing expectations of someone else. And you'll always think, well, maybe I'll find some time after I do all of my things I have to do that I'm expected to do. But you never really find time. It's like dailies in a video game. I play Genshin Impact, and one thing I've noticed in Genshin Impact is you have daily commissions, you have a certain amount of resin to spend, and the basic idea is that you can grind to level up your characters a certain amount every day. And so if you're most players, log into the game, do your dailies, spend your resin, And ultimately, it's going to take a certain amount of time. And what may happen is after you finish doing that, you'll think, well, I've done my dailies and I've spent some time playing the games, and now I'm going to just log out. And the crazy thing is, what happens is you do your dailies, but you never actually have time to do the main story quest. You never have time to progress your character because you're so busy grinding that repetitious stuff that you never actually get around to the parts that are truly interesting. Then after a while, you begin to burn out. You get tired of the game, you get tired of the grind, and then there's a tipping point when you just don't log in for a day, for a week, for a month. And then you start to think, well, I don't even know if I want to play this game anymore. And it's not really that the game is bad. It's that you have this culture that you have to do the daily grind before you can do anything else. And at some point, the daily grind gets old and tiresome. So it's better to put the content that you value most first. And that's true in your personal life. But it's probably even more true when you start to talk about personal relationships and who you're going to spend your life with and things like that. It could also apply to work environments. If you have a job where you don't have good work-life balance, where you never feel like you can step away, where every time you have time off, a day off, you never are able to actually get off on time. You're never able to truly disconnect. And so you're always thinking, well, one of these days after we get through the busy season, or after this particular project gets complete, then I will have time to do what I want to do. But the time never comes. You're always just grinding, doing the daily thing, hoping that maybe you can get caught up. But then tomorrow, the dailies reset, and once again, you are a slave to someone else's agenda and not at liberty to truly be yourself. I think when you're alone, I know for me, now been single for at least a couple years now, I think about how I miss companionship. And I also think, though, about how much I treasure the liberty of being alone, the liberty of being able to think freely, to believe freely, to know that anything I choose to do, to think, to pursue is completely mine. And I'm never going to offend someone or bother someone for just doing what I want to do or believing what I want to believe. I think it's very important to respect other people for their differences. And I think going into new relationships, I would prioritize finding someone who respects the importance of being an individual and not giving up your sense of self for the sake of a collective. I also think it's important not to necessarily always be pursuing something. Sometimes it's good to just be satisfied with your life, even if your life feels a little bit lonely. Even if some part of you thinks that your life is incomplete. Because it's better to be in a good position with good foundations, with good fundamentals, and maybe feel like you're missing out on certain things that you wish you had. It's better to be there than it is to be sold out in a situation where you're underwater. where you've put your money into an investment that is toxic or unhealthy or lacks good foundations. Sometimes we feel like we need to always jump into something, and if you don't, then you're going to miss out. But the truth is, if there's no attractive option, there's a lot of times in life where the best thing you can do is to just kind of stay on the sidelines and enjoy the good things you have going and be open to excellent opportunities when they arrive, should they arrive, and avail themselves. But don't buy into things. Don't buy into relationships or sell your liberty just because you start to feel desperate. And I'm sure I've mentioned this in other videos before, but it's something I think about so much because it's so true. There's this Bible verse, a story in the Bible about a demon-possessed man, and he has these unclean spirits living inside and messing him up, and they get cast out. And then the evil spirits go out and they wander the earth, and they can find no host, they can find no place to rest. It's like the desert. And so eventually they return to the man they were cast out of, and they find him, and they say his soul is like a room that's been put in order, cleaned, and empty. And they move in with more unclean spirits, more evil than themselves, and the later state of that man is worse than the original state. And I think about this because it's so easy when you're in a bad situation, when you're in a toxic situation, when you're in a situation that prevents you from growing, which prevents you from being true to yourself, and you get out of that, then there's that place of emptiness, that place of being in an in-between space, which isn't comfortable. And the temptation is you bring those old things back into your life because you don't want to be alone. You don't want emptiness there. So you open yourself to the same kind of toxic thing that you tried to get away from originally. And if you're not careful, you can wind up in a worse place in the end than you were in to begin with. So if you find yourself free, if you find yourself in a position where you have liberty, and you also feel like you want something more in your life, I think it's important to understand that nothing is better than something which is bad. And it's okay to wait with patience and enjoy the things that the current season of your life make possible. Because, you know, if you're single and you have all the time in the world for yourself, then there's things you can do. You know, I can catch up on the main story quest in my favorite video game. I don't have to worry about anyone else's priorities for the day, right? So I don't know what my future looks like. There might be something different in the future. Now, like I was saying, I intend to prioritize relationships which enable me to have a sense of self, which enable me to do things I enjoy. You should never settle for a relationship which makes you feel invisible or makes you feel like you aren't able to be yourself. But it's also true that we get focused on what we wish we had, and then we allow that to be a distraction from the very real things which we already have. So make the most out of the time you have. Make the most out of the benefits of the situation you're currently in, because if you don't, then when your life's seasons pass from one stage to another, you might look back and say, well, why didn't I just relax more and be happier with my life in the past? Because now maybe I don't have as much time to do certain things as I had before. Why didn't I, why was I being restless back then instead of just enjoying the opportunity to do things which I was able to do perfectly in that moment? So don't be focused so much on what you wish you had that you don't make the most of what you currently have. And also don't sell yourself out by trading your liberty for the promise of companionship or convenience in a way that's going to make you regret it later on. Because there's always a solution being sold. Anytime you go out, there's going to be somebody there telling you, if you give your liberty, we will give you security. Maybe it's that easy loan that you can get, or a credit card. And in the moment, it's super easy to walk away, zero money down. But the reality is, it's going to haunt you for years to come if you do that. So don't sell your fundamentals for temporary convenience. Be true to yourself. Try to make the most of every day. And don't be so focused on the dailies that you don't have an opportunity to experience the actual main story. The main story should be your life, not someone else's agenda, not what someone else thinks you should focus on, but what actually brings a sense of joy and purpose into your life. Always prioritize those things and seek to share your life with other people who make you feel more inclined to grow and develop yourself, not less. As always, good luck on your adventure. Till next time, thanks for watching.